So if you're starting with what I call the blah, 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 which means just the corporate speak, right? I've been in business for blah, 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 and my award-winning team, blah, blah, blah. So instead, what I'm looking for is you have to say, what are my clients, why do they care? I tell you, answer these 3 questions. These are the what questions. What is this profile about? So what? Why does my client care about this? And now what? What do I want my clients to do next?
Without further ado, going to tonight's incredible guest. Let me just give some background here about Debra Jasper. Debra has a Ph.D. and is the CEO and founder of Mindset Digital. Mindset Digital works with Fortune 100 leaders around the world to connect in a fast-forward world while communicating with clarity and impact in today's virtual age. Debra was named one of the top 12 female winning women entrepreneurs in North America by Ernst & Young. There's a story here. Therefore,
always is.
Thank you. And therefore, I just want to still tease the audience. We are going to discuss in tonight's show connecting and competing in today's virtual world, practical ways to engage your clients in this time of social distancing, and the importance and value of having a powerful LinkedIn profile. With that intro, Debra Jasper, thank you for joining me here on Mind Your Business.
It is terrific to be here. I am excited about this show. I love your energy.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to turn around. There's only 12 females that have been elected or that have been selected as winning women entrepreneurs across North America by Ernst & Young. That's quite a category. Share your story.
Sure. That was in 2018, and they select winning women entrepreneurs every year. And basically, they're looking for women who are running companies that are really scalable and likely to have a large success. So it was a tremendous honor to get to that award. And actually, I got to go to Monaco and meet the top 500 winning,
Wow.
of course, 500 entrepreneurs in the world. It was an incredible year last year. So super fun. And we need more women in the entrepreneurial space. So I'm always trying to help other women start their own companies and do cool things out there, because there's a lot of space for more females in the business world, for sure. Yeah,
and we've had a great number of stars in that category. Beth Comstock we've had on the show. We've had Linda Kaplan-Thaler and many others that are superstars, women in the business world.
Yes.
So now let's move to Mindset Digital. Tell us the backstory. How did you get into this work?
So actually, I was teaching at Ohio State. My Ph.D., I wrote my dissertation on the art of powerful micro storytelling, which people may be going, what? But that's actually a thing. And we launched the first social media fellowship for journalists in the world. So we were working with CNN and 60 Minutes, Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times. And a lot of businesses started coming to us and saying, we love how you're teaching them to communicate in just short, everything's got to be short, organized, skimmable, short attention spans. And businesses said, can you do that for us? So my business partner and I looked at each other and said, why, yes, we can. And we left our teaching jobs and we launched Mindset Digital a decade ago. And as you said, we've now trained people around the world. I've worked with the Ukrainian Council of Ministers. I've worked in Dubai. It's been an amazing journey, because who isn't trying to figure out how to break through the noise and get attention these days and get their clients to tune in?
Now, a special shout out to our own channel, Business Class, and of course, there will be clips from the interview tonight with Debra that will be featured on Business Class, which is, of course, just micro learning, micro storytelling. Perhaps you could just explain the power of story. Why is storytelling so critical for any executive in a company to master?
So here's what we're up against right now that is so intense. Our clients have forever have been distracted, right? Really short attention spans. We know that. Yeah. But here's the added layer. The big challenge now is they're not just distracted. We are all distant. We're communicating on small screens and we're distressed. And there's brain science behind how do you get people to tune in when we're all, think how much is coming at us every day between everything, between COVID and the election and the Supreme Court battles and, just so much coming at us every day. And we're trying to all stay in business and get our clients to listen to us and act on what we're telling them. So we've got to get our communication, we have to communicate with tremendous clarity and impact if we have any hope that we're going to drive action and faster responses.
Now, so if I may, unfortunately, people have been referring to what's going on now, so the necessity of social distancing as the new norm. We certainly hope it's not the new norm forever.
Sure.
It's there are many studies that are publicly coming out. The Wall Street Journal just had an article on it. Cranes just had an article on it. The fact that working remotely is not the same. It's not. We're human beings. Yet at the same time, we can't just hunker down and say, let's say everything will turn to normal. Let's dream by January 1st or whatever that date is. Mm-hmm. Right now, we have to operate within the parameters that are now. So what are some practical ways to engage with clients through what we're going through now, September, October?
Right. So as we've talked about, actually, I'm doing an entire series of virtual talk now. I used to do keynotes around the world. Now I'm doing virtual talks, actually. Actually, I just heard from a company in Switzerland saying, can you do that talk for us virtually here? And it's called Small Screen, Big Impact. Mm-hmm. And it's covering how do you have a big impact on an increasingly small screen? People are watching us from their mobile phones, or we're having team meetings over Zoom, and we all have Zoom fatigue. Yeah. So there are 3 ways that we have to really lean in to do business effectively on a small screen. The first thing people do when they're doing business with you. We know this is they're looking you up online. Yep. You have to have a powerful online presence, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Yep.
But if you want to connect, I may not want to go golfing with you right now. I don't even want to have lunch with you right now. Right. So now you're having to use the world's largest professional network, which is LinkedIn, mm-hmm. to have those connections. And not just that they're looking you up, but then how am I engaging with you? How am I, maybe wishing you happy birthday? How am I staying top of mind virtually in ways that we used to do in person? Mm-hmm. The second is you have to write with clarity and impact. So that's why I said every piece of content, business content that goes out your door has to be what we call SOS, short, organized, and skimmable with clear calls to action. And the third is you have to present with clarity and impact. And we talk at Mindset Digital about rapid visual storytelling. I have a whole master class actually on how to design Zoom meetings and other presentations with powerful openings and powerful endings in ways that people will tune in. So those are the 3 things that I think everyone has to think about. Their emails, their presentations, their marketing materials, everything has to be micro and powerful.
Let me ask you the question straight up. Why is it so important to have an online presence, especially on LinkedIn?
Because people are looking you up every day and making a decision about whether you are old school or you are savvy, right? I mean, we're judging each other online these days because we're not meeting in person nearly as much. Yeah. And too often people make the mistake of thinking, oh, you just put up a resume. That is not building relationships. Your online presence has to tell the powerful story of you. And here's, I think, the most key thing. You're either driving business with your online presence or you're driving business away. And you may not even know. I may look you up and say, you know what, I don't want to talk to you and never take that call. Or I may look you up and say, wow, I should bring 3 more people into this call. This guy looks impressive. So it's an important part of doing business today.
Now, Debra, I will share with the audience, I am a proud client of Mindset Digital. And therefore, I think it actually pays to really, to the extent that you wish to share, Debra, for me going through the upgrade and going through the entire process of understanding my LinkedIn profile and then upgrading it was an eye-opener for me. And like you touched on before, it's much more than just a resume or perhaps you could start to describe for the audience what it's all about to have an amazing LinkedIn profile.
So what I love about the process, we do LinkedIn makeovers, and we do LinkedIn executive makeovers, and we do LinkedIn professional makeovers. And for you, we did the executive makeover, which means we interview you, and then we do all the heavy lifting for you. And your profile before was actually not bad. It was actually better than a lot of profiles we see because it was professional and it was mostly fully filled out. But you were missing the most important part of a profile, which is the powerful story of you. Yeah. So that summary section in your LinkedIn profile shouldn't tell me what you do, which is what yours did. Right. It should tell me what you love about what you do. And more important, it should tell me what you love about what you do for me, your clients, right? And so now the before really started with your award-winning firm and more just this was in your experience section. Now you have this amazing profile that if you look at your summary, you're telling me more about your philosophy of why you love working with your clients, what you love doing for your clients. And I think that's such a big aha for people. You know, oh, this is a mini magazine bio. Is that what you felt? Did you?
Yes.
Is that your takeaway?
I have to share, again, I drank the Kool-Aid, as the expression goes. When we started that conversation a few weeks ago, and you asked me, I would like to hear not just what you love, what you love to do, but why you love to. In fact, could you please rephrase that? I love how you say it.
It was that it's not what you love, it's not what you do, it's what you love about what you do for your clients. You know, so that really gets you focused on the reader and not you.
Yeah. And of course that's the key. At the end of the day, every business is solving a pain point in the marketplace and has to focus on how they will benefit their client. So it's not just about the passion that the owner has. Of course, he needs that because he'll do a better job at it. But at the end of the day, if they're not solving a problem, then they're not in business. Communicate that. Communicate that. What problem are you solving? What is it that you're providing in the marketplace that could provide a real solution, and then package that and have that on your LinkedIn profile?
Right. So here's the big mistake people make. Too often, right, you go to your profile, and this happens in your sales calls too, but you start your sales presentation or you start your LinkedIn profile with, I've been in business for a decade. Yeah. And no one really, that's not what people care that much about. What people really care about is, well, what can you do for me? Right. So now your profile really starts with how you're helping corporate, political, nonprofit clients create the right narrative to match their vision. And that tells me, oh, this is what you're passionate about. And you talk about how simplification is the ultimate form of sophistication. Yeah. So now I read your profile and go, you're a really interesting guy, as opposed to, I have an award-winning marketing team, which is important. You want to set credibility, but first you want to set likability. Right? When I come to your profile, I'm not first asking, how impressive are you? I'm asking, do I like this person, and do I want to work with this person? Those are the questions you want to answer in your profile.
Perhaps we could spend a minute or two discussing the importance for and how a salesperson should, in particular, craft their LinkedIn profile.
Right. So if you're in sales today, and really all of us are in some way, you have to go to your profile and say, my clients have very short attention spans. So if you're starting with what I call the blah, 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 which means just the corporate speak, right? I've been in business for blah, 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 and my award-winning team, blah, blah, blah. So instead, what I'm looking for is you have to say, what are my clients? Why do they care? I tell you, answer these 3 questions. These are the what questions. What is this profile about? So what? Why does my client care about this? And now what? What do I want my clients to do next? And that is really what your profile should answer. Like, why should I do business with you? And if you're not leading with what's in it for me, you're making a big mistake. So you talked about Norm Trainer. I have to just tell the story real quick. But I was doing his LinkedIn makeover at Covenant Group, and he called me up and said, Debra, here's what I realized. I used to think that my online presence should show you, really how great I am. Right. And now I realize, no, clients should come to my LinkedIn profile and say, not, oh, look how great Norm is, but instead, look how great Norm can make me. Yep. Big eye opener.
Yep. And that's what he shared with me when he told me. He says, Yitzchok, you got to meet Debra. And he shared that story. He shared exactly that story.
Yeah, it was powerful.
Now, Debra, beyond the LinkedIn profile itself, what else could you share? What important advice with business owners?
Yeah, sure. Business owners are really, I think the number one mistake they're making is they're failing to take advantage of this amazing database. So people don't realize, for example, that you can do advanced search and you can go in, let's say you're doing business in the construction industry, and you can find every CEO in the with construction in their title or in their profile in your zip code. There's so many granular searches that you can do, and then you can say, I not only want to find CEOs in this industry in my zip code, but I want to find them that are connected to my first degree connections or my second degree connections. And then you can say, oh, I see Bob knows Ted. It's much better if I'm asking Bob, hey, I don't want to ask Bob, hey, Bob, can you recommend me? I should say, hey, Bob, I see you know Ted. Can you recommend me to Ted? It is so much more powerful if you're using LinkedIn to really do a granular search and find the people, not just the people that you already know, but the people that they know that you want to know.
Now, Debra, for the listeners, let's say they've taken a look at their LinkedIn profile and they're just, I'm pretty
Sure.
much all going to do it. They're overwhelmed. Everything they need to update. Where do I start? There's a picture. There's a profile. There's where I went to college. Where do you start?
Right. In your visual background, so the other big mistake people make is you can do a branded background, right? And people don't bother. They have the default. And the number of angry looking people on LinkedIn, we could do a little friendlier photo. It's always a surprise to me. People look kind of grim in these corporate photos. So we coach people on what's their background, what kind of visual assets should they be using. Think of all the great video interviews you've done. People don't realize that they can put that kind of thing in their visual assets section. So we're coaching people on really how to take this to a new level. And I'll tell you the payoff. I wanted to speak, for example, at a PubCon, which is 3,000 digital marketers, and in Vegas every year. There's only 6 main stage speakers, 400 speakers regularly. Right. The organizer looked me up on LinkedIn before he decided whether to make me a main stage speaker. I have a video of my talks there, and I've ended up giving 3 main stage talks there. Wow. And that would not have happened without a great LinkedIn profile. So there's just opportunities you won't get that you won't even know about because you didn't bother to do a great online presence.
Now, Debra, what are the most important parts of the profile that a person should ensure that it's done properly?
Sure. Number one is visual, because, of course, most of the information we take in visually. So you have to have you want a professional photo, but you don't want a stuffy one. Yeah. You don't want kind of that old school corporate photo, especially these days. There's a little bit more. We say casual does not mean careless, but it does mean a little friendlier and a little less
stuffy,
slick, I guess.
Yeah.
In fact, I just changed my photo, actually, because I think in this new world, we're moving into a whole lot less of that kind of old school photo. You want to have a great visual background. You need your summary section to truly be a mini magazine bio. You need to think about your search engine optimization words, because especially if you have a common name and people look you up, maybe 6 of those are going to come up, and you want your business, you want you to come up first. And then you want to think through how you make all of it more skimmable, and it's easy for me to read and easy for me to take in. Which sounds a little overwhelming, I know, but those are the critical things.
Yeah. And that's why Mindset Digital exists. Let's give a powernetworkhabit.com. That's how people could find out more information.
Exactly, and they can decide, do they want us to do it for them? Because we have a team of writers and LinkedIn specialists, and we'll interview you for like a half an hour, and then we write the whole thing and send it to you, and you say, yes, love it, want to tweak this, and then we upload it for you, and we truly do all the heavy lifting. Or you can say, no, I think I can do this myself, and we have a 5-week coaching program, and the first part of that is on your profile, and then the rest of that is how do you use LinkedIn to get more business. And I'll tell you, we've been monitoring this, and on average, our clients are getting 7 times more meetings through LinkedIn.
Wow.
After they go through the program. 80% get to a 5-star profile. I mean, this is a sophisticated network. And if you're like me and you're not that technical, my team is way smarter than me in terms of the technical aspects of this. We all need a little hand holding in this new social world, right?
And that was the best part, I'm just sharing publicly, about working with Mindset Digital. The fact that they did it. It's voila. And, and every executive needs that. At the end of the day, they're busy doing what they do best, right? And every executive knows that. Excel, you know what you excel at, what you love doing, what your passion is, and stay within that space. And others will help you fill in the roles that need to get filled in. And that's why I turned to Mindset Digital. And again, powernetworkhabit.com, powernetworkhabit.com is how you could find out about the various different packages that Mindset Digital offers. Debra, I'm going to open up with the question that I said I would ask you, and that is, what are the biggest mistakes to avoid on LinkedIn?
Sure. So we talked about your online presence, and we'll get into that a little bit more because I want to walk you through, we'll show you some of the before and afters, including yours. So that'll be fun. Yes. And then we'll talk through that for our radio viewers.
Yeah.
But of course, part of it then beyond how you look on LinkedIn, and this is, I think of this, we talk, sometimes you say LinkedIn and people think, well, it's just one social channel. But they have a lot of search engine optimization. So it will be one of the first things that comes up online. So I think of it more as your online presence, right? And you're right, in a world of social distance, everyone is doing more to look you up online long before, again, they meet with you or even after they talk with you. So one of the big mistakes then is not staying engaged. So let's say that I've looked you up online. When I link into you, I should not use the default. If I can't take 5 minutes to say, I so enjoyed being on your radio show, then why should you connect with me? We should take a few minutes to write 15 seconds to write a personal note about how do I know you, or did I hear you on the radio, or did I love your webinar or your training session, some personal connection. So not doing the default is is an important point. A lot of people just rely on that default. And then secondly, don't link into everyone. And here's why. If you link into me and you're just going to spam me and I accept that, then you may say someone else, that person may link into someone else that I know, and they'll say, oh, Debra linked into them, so I'm loaning them my credibility. Right. So you want to link into people you know, or people that you definitely know you want to know, but not everyone. And it is fine if you do link into me and then you spam me, I can disconnect. I can unfollow you, or link, basically disconnect from you, and you don't get notified. So, and when people do that, I sometimes just go and say, I don't want to be linked into this person.
It's great. Whenever I talk to a major expert such as yourself, there's advice that is like, I never would have thought of. And then there's some advice that you say, you know what? That's I know that instinctively, but now that I heard it from a professional, I'm going to be more careful about it. And I'm referring to specifically about that suggested writing that they have. Hi, I'd like to connect with you. It's a great point you made. Take out the 30 seconds. That's all it takes. And add something that makes it more human, as opposed to just, the person rolls their eyes, another connection. For what?
Because you wouldn't go to a party and walk around saying, hi, I'd like to connect with you. So we shouldn't do that on social, And then I think the final thing on that is then once you want to really have a robust connection with the right people, with the influencers in your community. But you don't have to have 7,000 followers. You can have 700 of the right people, and it can be a very powerful network. And then you want to make sure that your engagement is smart. So you don't want to just you don't do a generic request. You don't want to do generic content. Because I'm not, thought leadership matters, and you hear it's a buzz. It's such a buzz when people talk about thought leadership. I don't think you have to do that all the time. You don't have to be blogging every day to be a thought leader. But when you do engage, you want to engage thoughtfully. So don't just say, love this article and post it. Why did you love this article? Or don't just, like something that I've posted. Say, Debra, I really enjoyed this because. So it's just a little bit more. We say spend 15 minutes a day. Because here's the thing. If maybe just a handful of people post or like your comment or engage with you, you can end up engaging several times with thousands of people a year. What is that worth in terms of driving your business? But it has to be authentic and it has to be meaningful.
So, Debra, perhaps you could walk us through, because, an obvious question is, how long does it take to update a profile? Perhaps you could walk us through the process that I enjoyed and experienced.
I love this question because I think people are shocked when they find out. So when our team does it, we can spend easily 30 hours a profile. And that's because we interview you. We have to write a mini magazine bio piece to make sure it's the powerful story of you. You want to read it and give us feedback. Right. We ask for your visual assets. We figure out your SEO. We try to make your experience sections more skimmable. I mean, there's a lot. Where do we want to put how you give back to the community? How do we showcase your philanthropy? How do we help you design that visual background? Mm-hmm. There's so much that goes into this. That's why you're smart to say, I mean, that's what our team spends, and we do this every day. Yeah. If you're trying to learn how to do it, it might take you longer.
300 hours.
Now, if you don't want to go all in and you just want to make it just, not a 5-star profile, but at least a regular okay profile, you can spend less time. But I don't think in business, especially virtually today, any of us can afford to be just okay.
Yeah. So perhaps you could walk us through the process, please. And now,
sure.
Again, I want to encourage the listeners. This will go up as a permanent YouTube episode, and you'll be able to access it by going to mybradio.com a short time after the show is live. But for the benefit of those tuned in now by radio, we'll take you through it with an audio approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I will show if you're watching it, and what I'll talk about, is just the before and afters. Yes. And you'll see, I want to start with your profile because I sort of feel like listeners are going to want to see what you did, right? Yeah. So if you think about your before, I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, as I said, you had a lot of sections filled out. You had a branded background. You are smiling in your photo, so that's good. But that most powerful section, there was not a summary. There was not that story of you. Right. So what it really started with was your experience section, and it was more formal. Traditional resume-like content, which is, we're an award-winning marketing agency which specializes in ethnic marketing, right? It's more of just here's who we are, here's how long we've been in business. And you'll see in the after, we really are getting back to why you do the work that you do. And we even in the language, notice the informal language when you guys go to your profile. When listeners go to your profile, they should look for things like you were saying. The fun part of this is, and we'll take you behind the scenes, it's just more casually written. It's written in the first person. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at your other sections, you'll see it's more skimmable. And we've just added a lot more throughout the entire profile. We've also added in those SEO, search engine optimization words. So we're doing that with everyone, but just take a look here at the before and the after. The other profile, because we've talked about Norm, that I want to show is Norm's. And you'll see his before again, like yours. It was a fine resume-like profile with a fine, resume-like photo. But again, the default background, his about section was very resume-like. Mm-hmm. And in the after, he has the branded background's awesome. I actually like that he moved from a suit to a sweater. I think it just is a little less formal, but still very professional. Yeah. A more personable photo. A very engaging about section. In fact, one of the things that Norm always talks about is, the power of focus. And and I ended up reading his profile and putting some of the wisdom in his profile on my whiteboard, which, he was a thought leadership in his own profile. Right. And then we posted his visual thought leadership, which we did in your profile too. And it's all focused on how does he bring value to you. And then I'll just show you a few more just before and afters here. But in all of these, you see that what we're showing is it's more relationship, less resume, and more visually appealing. And if you consider that on average, today's professional has an 8-second attention span, it doesn't
if that. Yeah.
If that, it doesn't mean we won't go deeper, but it does mean we're making a snap decision about whether your content is worth our time. And of course, in your marketing agency, you talk about that a lot. And what business leaders need to think about, and here's what I'd encourage everyone to do when the show is over today, just Google yourself, look at your profile, and ask yourself the simple question. One, would I like me? And 2, would I want to do business with me? And is this the best, is this how I'm putting my best foot forward, right? So, and you can see here from the before and afters that we've just shown, just a big difference in that. If I just take a quick look, I'm making a rapid decision about, oh yeah, you're credible and you're knowledgeable and you're socially savvy. How you look visually matters, and then whether you have whether you're fully optimized matters.
Could you also share the index? What is that? The score index. What is that called? Because people should really know to kind of before and after what happens before they engage with Mindset Digital and where they'll be afterwards.
The social selling index. Yeah. And if you're an executive, you should know this, and you don't know the social selling index score of your sales team, or if you're in sales and you don't know your own score. Also, if you're in marketing, I mean, all of us should know our score. So LinkedIn has something called the social selling index. I actually don't like the name because I think it should be called the social influencer index, because it's more measuring your influence. So it's measuring, do you have a robust network? How often are you engaging with insights? They don't completely tell you the secret to the algorithm, but again, when you at the radio show today, just when you get a chance, Google the social selling index and LinkedIn, put your name in, and it will give you a score. And on average, we see people in finance, the score is like 18 on average. The scores can be pretty low. You want to have a score of at least in the 50s. Ideally, it'll be higher than that. And of course, that back to Norm, when he went through the program, he's now at an 81. So I have to give him a huge shout out. And he didn't just go through the LinkedIn makeover. He did the full Power Network Habit program, which is 6 weeks of 5 weeks of coaching. Right. Every week you get a coaching video, you get a 40-page playbook, you get really, we walk you through step by step. Here's how to engage. You get a quest every week. This week, here's how you're going to get introductions. This week, here's how you're going to connect with people. But Norm and others have said what it does is it focuses you. Yeah. It gives you some discipline to say, I am going to spend 10 to 15 minutes a day on this. Yeah. And then your social selling index score goes up, or your influencer score goes up. And suddenly you find yourself getting those meetings with the people that you most wanted to meet with. So that's kind of, in fact, I talked to Norm the other day, and I think he's doing business now in Africa because an old friend connected with him that he hadn't seen for a while. And, there's just all these, we have so many stories from people who link in and say, wow, I haven't seen you for a while. We should do business together.
I'm sure you have, many dozens, if not hundreds of stories that have come to you. Obviously, there are many thousands that you don't even know about, but that all happens through that. Now, a key question, once someone has built up their network, they perfected their profile and they're all set, what should be done along the way to ensure that they are, that LinkedIn themselves, scores this person, keeps the score high? I guess my question really is more about the content. What are some of the content creation that is critical for a person to maintain on their LinkedIn on their LinkedIn page?
Yeah, these are great questions. Part of it is the thought leadership that we talked about. It's engaging with insights, so it's spending a little bit more time, not just liking something, but actually, commenting. And when you comment, tell me why you liked something. It's funny, I commented the other day, someone had said something about they get so tired of seeing those 40 under 40 lists. And I commented, yes, I'd love to see a 50 over 50 list and a 60 over 60 list, because there's a lot of us over 50, including me, that are still doing, cool work. Right. And I think we should be celebrating not just the 40 under 40, but those of us who are doing cool work over 50. I have more than 43 comments on that, and tons of people have engaged. Right. And so many people have reached out to me and said, Debra, I love this post. Let's link in. We should talk. It's just, and those are the kinds of things that you just want to be thoughtful. And I posted about this work we're doing with physicians. We do a lot of physician LinkedIn makeovers. I want to say this isn't just for business leaders. Right. Doctors are thinking about their profiles, right? Executives and hospitals are thinking about their profiles. And I was commenting on this, and I had a CMO, a chief marketing officer at a major healthcare organization, link into me and say, I didn't know you were doing this because I wrote a blog post, and we should meet. And so what's wonderful about that is it's much better when people reached out to you and say, I'd love to meet with you, than you desperately trying to get the meeting, right?
Yep.
So this goes into when you post really thoughtful content, people think you're thoughtful and they want to do business with savvy business leaders. So this is your opportunity to showcase a lot of what you do. Having said that, though, I was coaching another guy the other day who was doing, he was writing kind of academic white papers. That is not the space.
Yeah.
So, these blog posts, the good news for all of us is they can be short, organized, and skimmable and a lot more friendly and, write like you talk, not like you text, but like you talk. And that can make them a lot more powerful.
Now, here's a key question. How will someone know if this is all working?
Business starts coming in, right? The number of people who have called me and said, Debra, I got new business here. My own experiences. It's so funny how much business we have driven through this network. It's why, listen, I did not start out. I have, I have my Ph.D.s in micro storytelling and educational policy and leadership. This is not what I thought I'd be talking on a show one day about is LinkedIn. But I'll tell you a meaningful story. I was working with a Fortune 100 firm in St. Louis, and a guy came up to me later. I came back there to do some more training and said, he was teary. And he said, I thought I was going to have to retire because I thought, I don't know how to do this. I don't want to do this. And he said, you really took it was powerful. He said, he got teary. I kind of got teary. He said, you took it. I'm not afraid of this anymore. Like I went through the coaching. This is not rocket science. I can do this. Once you get over that initial sort of fear of technology or fear of figuring this out. And he said, it has been a game changer. My business has gone up. My kids think I'm better than they are on this. We laughed about it, but it still kind of gives me that conversation really changed the way I felt about all of this. I think a lot of us hate this stuff. We don't want to do this. We don't want to embrace this. But I'll tell you, I was an old school print reporter, right? In a lot of ways, the fact that I did this, I think about for myself and my own story. I was a journalist and I went from that to being a CEO in Dubai, and traveling around the world in Australia and all these across Europe teaching this. And it was really because I was willing to get out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And here's the question I ask people, see what you think about this question, but this is so much bigger than LinkedIn. And it really is about embracing the virtual world and Zoom and technology. And I ask people, do you want to be reluctant or do you want to be relevant?
That's a great straight-up question. One more thing before we go to a break. What I so impressed, and I've seen time and time again from successful executives, is that and it sounds like from yourself also with the journalistic background, what you're doing now is not fundamentally different. It's just different technology, a different approach, a different mindset. But the passion that you had 30 years ago, 20 years ago in your journalistic career is now applied on LinkedIn. Is that incorrect?
Yeah. No, because at the end of the day, what is a journalist? They're a storyteller.
Right.
What am I talking about?
Right.
Using a new platform to tell the powerful story of you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about storytelling. You've got to tell your story in a compelling way that gets people to tune in and want to do business with you. Whether that's on LinkedIn or on a Zoom meeting or in an email, we have to be better communicators, and that means we have to be better storytellers. And my early day passion has always been storytelling, and it still is. Absolutely.
Before we go to a break, I want to remind the listeners, how can they find out more about everything that Mindset Digital has to offer?
Yes, you can link into me at Debra Jasper, DebraJasper, or go to powernetworkhabit.com, and there's a lot of information there about LinkedIn.
We have only a few minutes left, but every minute is so precious that we're having a tonight's show with Debra Jasper, the founder and CEO of Mindset Digital. In case you're just tuning in, no worries. As the listeners know, by Tuesday morning, this entire episode is up at mybradio.com. Give it a few more days. The video of the entire show will be up, and the video will include the slides that Debra referred to when she was talking about LinkedIn profiles and the makeovers. Debra, an important question. I think it's only around 2 years ago that LinkedIn made an all-out dive and embraced video. Perhaps you could discuss how important is it, or is it important at all, for one to try to get video content on their LinkedIn page?
Yeah, sure. We definitely work with you on visual assets. And you think about yours, you have tremendous visual, we call them visual assets, which is kind of but it's video. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you have tremendous videos because you've done these great interviews. And of course you can post those there. And as I was talking earlier, I have a 5-minute keynote speaker reel. And when people come to decide whether to hire me as a keynote speaker, they can watch that and people don't even recognize that you can do this. So I think business leaders out there, if you have a recruiting video or you have a video describing your business or you gave a recent talk and you have that video, you can post all of that. And of course, our brains are wired for visual content, and we're more likely to watch that. So it's absolutely important to think about visual just overall. 70% of the information we take in through our eyes. Right. So you want to make sure your photo, your videos, your visual background, all of that really hangs together and is impressive. And at a glance, I go, oh, okay, this person is doing cool work.
Debra, you touched on a few times your major presentations that you've done, and of course now you're doing virtual talks because of the circumstances. Perhaps you could discuss. I mean, we've had on the show many big keynote speakers, and you're now part of this list. Perhaps you could discuss it and what you're doing today in terms of your virtual talks.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Right before, of course, all of this hit, I was slated to be the opening keynote speaker at RIMS, which is 10,000 risk managers from 90 countries. And I was speaking for an hour. And of course, I don't know that we'll ever have 10,000 risk managers in a room again, at least for a while. Yeah. And so pretty quickly, because I was giving a couple of keynotes, sometimes a couple a week. I was in a couple of cities a week. And so my life dramatically changed. Right. And I started saying, all right, how do we shift these to virtual? So my new series is called Small Screen, Big Impact. Mm-hmm. And then we have a masterclass actually called Design for Attention. And all of it is how am I designing presentations for a small screen? Because I think people get online when they're leading webinars or team meetings, and they don't recognize, they just put up a lot of old style PowerPoints, so they don't recognize that on a small screen, the fonts have to be bigger. Right. You have to bring numbers in as you talk. There's a design methodology to this. You have to have a powerful opening. You have to have a smart ending, never end on questions in a webinar, because if you don't get them, it's awkward. Yeah. So there's a lot of new training that has to happen because we've got to adopt new approaches. There's nothing worse than peering into a small screen trying to figure out what people are actually talking about.
Debra, before or as we wrap up, how could people find out more about the variety of services that Mindset Digital offers?
Sure. So link into me at Debra Jasper at Mindset Digital. And of course, you could go to mindsetdigital.com. And if you're looking for work, if you're really engaged on LinkedIn, you want to go to powernetworkhabit.com, because that's where we have a lot of information about our LinkedIn profiles. And we can either do all of it for you or we can coach you in how to do it. But I love doing it. You can see I'm passionate about it just because I love the response people get at the end, because they're like, I wasn't that excited about this, but this has been amazing. So it's just fun to do. It's fun work.
And painless, I will add. From drinking the Kool-Aid, it was painless.
Well, next time we'll ask you what the hardest questions were. We'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Yes.
You can tell us what you went through.
Yeah, but thank you. And of course, I am looking forward to having Debra back in a number of weeks after. After I've completely experienced what it's like, the impact of having a LinkedIn makeover. I love the honor of interviewing C-level executives and sharing their great advice and perspective on Mind Your Business. I'd love to get your feedback. Post it in the comments below and subscribe. You'll never miss an edition of Mind Your Business.